All right, so in this lesson, we're going to learn how to set and get data from our local storage. Now, we could use session storage if you want to. By all means, go ahead and use session if you want to. The APIs are exactly the same. Now, before we get going, I'm going to blow this code away, and we're going to take a quick look at our local storage object. So if you want to go ahead, type out window.localStorage. We're going to take a look at it in the browser. So you can see that we have this storage, and obviously we want to look at the prototype. So you can see that we have a couple of methods. We have clear, we have get item, we have key, length, which we've already looked at. If we've got one item, we've got a length of 1. We also have remove item and set item. So really that is the entire API of this storage object. So what we want to do is essentially use this set and get. So this is the fun part where we can start writing data to our local storage. Now it's a nice convention. We could do something like const ls equals and then window.localStorage. This then saves us typing out window.localStorage every single time. We can just say ls dot something. So what we're going to say is ls, and we're going to use this set item. What we essentially need to do for this API is pass in a key of a string and a value of a string. That is all we can pass in. So here I'm going to create a value of cookies. We can then pass in a string of the value true. So what we're essentially saying is we are assuming that the user has accepted true as the value. Now you can see here that this looks like a Boolean value. It doesn't actually wrap this information in a string. Now before we go any further, I do actually want to show you something else while we're here. Now because local storage is an object, we could actually do something like this where we say square brackets, we could say name, for example, or of course we could directly write a property to the local storage object. So we could say local storage.name equals Todd. We can then hit save and you can see we have name Todd. Now this is perfectly acceptable to do. However, it isn't recommended to do. We should really try and use these set and get APIs. But I just wanted to show you the flexibility of JavaScript and essentially what not to do. So while we've got this in here, I'm going to delete the key. So we should just end up with our cookies with a value of true. Now, if we want to refresh, you can see that our cookies is staying persistent. If we were to completely close the tab, turn the computer off, reboot it, go on holiday for a week, come back and visit the same domain, so it has to be the domain specific, this value would still be here. If we were to add this to our session storage, we would see this cookies in this other panel. If we were to then close the tab, everything gets destroyed automatically for us. So that's the main difference between the two. Now, let's say we want to get the value. So I'm going to console log this out so we can actually see it. We're going to use this get item. So here we need to then pass in the key. So our key is in fact cookies. We can then jump across, go to the console, and you can see that we have this value of true. Now, I don't know if you can see, because it's quite small, we have the word true and the text is black. So this is not a true Boolean value. Now, if we were to do something like this, we would obviously get the value of true, which is a very common use case. We might want to just say that the user has accepted our cookies. So then we say true or false. Now, the problem with this is if we say equals true, so this is a true Boolean value. So when we hit save, this is going to give us the value of false. So you can see that that's slightly blue text. So what we would in fact need to do is something like this, where we wrap the word true in a string, which then this expression results to an actual true value. So this isn't a great way of doing things. And we're going to learn how to deal with more complex data structures such as JavaScript objects, Booleans, numbers, arrays, you name it. But this is, on the most basic sense, how we can get and set data from our local storage object. We've then had a look in our application panel. We've talked about session storage and how we could use it if we like, but we're going to stick with local storage for this chapter. And then we've discussed some of the pitfalls with using Boolean values, and we're going to then learn how to deal with real JavaScript types in the next couple of videos, because this is not something that we in fact want to do. And of course, it's not a great approach, because if we did something like this, we then see the words false and true in the console, because true is in fact a string here, not of type Boolean. So we're going to learn how to deal with these primitive values in the next lesson by introducing JSON parse and JSON stringify.